please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hi, a very good morning. You're watching Trading Hour on CNBC TV18. I'm Ekta Batra and my co-anchor Prashant Nair will be joining us very soon. Well, for the markets, the Nifty is recovered all the way back to 11,000. So good going for the Nifty, and the Sensex seems as though we're not really too perturbed with the fact that the rupee is now at an all-time low, fresh all-time low at around 69.12, recovered from those levels, but it was probably expected to take place in terms of a slow and steady basis, and 69 is here for the rupee. More so, there will be one eye in terms of what's happening with the Parliament and the no confidence motion. So that is another cue that we will be watching out for very closely. So besides that, a lot of stocks to watch out for in terms of earnings as well. Bajaj Finance, Finserv reacting to what was a handsome set of numbers. Reliance Industries, which is also at a fresh high, and something like an Infosys, Techchem, TCS, all of them buoyed by what is a weaker rupee. Just want to turn your attention in terms of the numbers expected today. A lot of mid-cap numbers. So Bajaj Auto from the frontline space, that's not a mid-cap obviously, but Bata, Havells, Just Dial, all of these numbers will be coming out from the mid-caps. So a lot to watch out for. Jubilant Food, HEG, again, all-time highs for those stocks. Hi, Prashant.
Ekta, hi, morning. You know, for all the ups and downs we've seen this week, it's basically going to be flat Friday to Friday. The Nifty is going to be down some, I mean, if we end up 50 points, we are still going to be down about 0.1, 0.2%. But as has been now the case for the last many weeks, it's the broader market which is going to go down, you know, in a weakish, bearish way. So, I mean, week to date, if of course we end up where we are right now, we close at 330 at current prices. Small cap index for the week will be down about 3.5%. Mid cap index will be down another 1.8%, and this comes on top of the weakness that we're already sitting on for these two spaces. So, not very much has changed since. We've got the no confidence motion in the Lok Sabha today. That's essentially the top story as far as politics is concerned. I mean, actually, I guess the top story here by far. Let's listen into the proceedings in the Lok Sabha quickly.
At serial number 1 in today's revised list of business on the table of the House.
Dr. Harshvardhan.
With your kind permission, I rise to lay on the table of the House the papers mentioned against my name at serial number 2 in today's list of business.
Dr. Mahesh Sharma.
And with your permission, I rise to lay on the table of the House the papers mentioned against my name at serial number 3 in today's list of business.
Sri Radhakrishnan P.
Lay on the papers serial number 4 in today's list of business.
Shiv Pratap Shukla ji.
Okay, I mean, proceedings just beginning in the Lok Sabha. We'll cut back when that motion is moved, and we'll have that for you live, of course, tracking that very closely. Mitessh Thakkar is with us to run us through trades quickly before the Parliament proceedings in a way take over. Mitessh, morning. Your sense, now we started 50 points higher at 11, already down 10 points, 40 now. Your sense and your trades?
Yeah, good morning, Prashant. I think, again, you know, market kind of held today morning the lows of around 10,940. So that's become a clear defined range of 10,940 to about 11,070. So no, you know, directional bias over here, but you can do range trades. Similarly, the Bank Nifty has a range of about 26,650 to roughly about 27,150. Again, I think, you know, you've got to trade the range over here. Maybe as you approach the expiry next week, I think on Monday or Tuesday, we might get a breakout or breakdown signals. For the time being, we are trading with both of long and short bias. I have one buy and one sell. RBL Bank is a buy. Keep a stop at 564, look for targets of 595. While Indian Bank is a sell with a stop at 327 for targets of 305.
Okay, so you've given your stock calls. What would you suggest on, say, the IT stocks today, Mitessh, amongst the frontliners?
See, in fact, I do like the IT pack, but I think this time it's more of the large cap side which I prefer. I think Infosys and HCL Tech look better to me compared to Mindtree or an NIT Tech. Mindtree, you know, had a big fall yesterday and now looks like giving a pullback. But getting past levels of around 15,020 could be a challenge for the stock immediately. And if it was to start heading towards 950 and break that, I think we might see a significant correction happening over there. Comparatively, I think HCL Tech looks like getting into a positive zone with a target of around 1,035.40 for the next few days.
Okay, well, some positive news coming in for Dr. Reddy's. They are launching, or they have launched, esomeprazole magnesium, which is basically omeprazole. It's used for conditions with the stomach, such as acid reflux, etc. Market size $300 million. Obviously, a little bit of a positive uptake, which is coming in for them. But remember, they had already received approval for this drug, so it was more or less expected that they would probably launch this drug in the US. So that's the news coming in for Dr. Reddy's. Let's get in a couple of Twitter queries then. We have Ankur, who wants to know if Stride Shahasun is a good price at a good buy at current price levels. Mitessh, in fact, this morning I was looking at Strides. The stock is down 58% now year to date.
Yeah, it's kind of underperformed big time, and I think if you look at the stock from its higher levels, I think you will see that a significant correction already taken place, and the stock is now extremely oversold on the longer term charts. Also, is very close to the support zones of February 2014 when the stock had bottomed out around this 330 mark. So I think in that sense, I think I would agree with that. I think, if you are looking for a medium-term kind of an outlook for a few months, this could be good levels to accumulate. I think anything between 340 to roughly about 315 would be your accumulation zone. Keep a stop at 290, and once some kind of trend reversal takes place, I think the stock could show you targets closer to about 500 on the upside if you give it about 9 to 10 months. So in that sense, I think I would be comfortable recommending an accumulate over here and slowly start buying into this one. And if you get another 5-6% kind of a cut, add more to your positions.
All right, Mitessh, thanks very much. Appreciate you joining in. Let's get Krish Subramaniam of Altamount Capital in. Krish, morning. What would you do?
Morning, Prashant. To begin with, buying of a plain vanilla put in Bank Nifty, I think we have seen some sort of weakness coming about post the Kotak breakdown yesterday. So one could possibly buy 26,800 strike put, that's quoting around 140, keeping a target of 225, and one could possibly keep a stop loss of 100. And stock-specific bull spread in Bank of Baroda. Now, this has been one interesting feature in the current series. We have seen some steady accumulation at 115, 120 zones. We are today also seeing some put rating at a 120 strike. So going to expiry, I think we could see some bullish movement coming about. So one could possibly buy a 120 strike and sell a 130 strike call. And the net cost comes to about 3. So the maximum one would gain is about 7 rupees, and one could keep a stop loss of 1 rupee. And going with the momentum that Reliance is providing, again a bull spread there, I think this one which has been the strong feature of this market. One could buy again a bull spread, buy a 1120 strike call and sell a 1160 strike call. The net cost comes to about 15. The maximum one would gain would be 25 rupees, and one could keep a stop loss of 9.
Okay. All right, Krish, we're going to let you go on that note. Thanks very much for joining in and talking to us. Well, for the equity markets, holding up with a gain of around 0.4% at this point, Bank Nifty absolutely flat. But the big cue that we've been watching today, besides politics and besides what's happening with the equity markets, is the rupee. It's recovered after hitting fresh record lows against the dollar. The fresh record low was 69.12, which it had hit just probably a few minutes after it opened earlier today, but it has bounced back, as you can see on the screen. We spoke with market expert Anant Narayan and Venkat Nageshwar Chalsani, who is the DMD of Global Markets at State Bank of India. Let's listen in to what they had to say about the rupee levels going forward.
Major issue that we are looking at is a global trade war that is happening, and but one of the positives over that is that it's likely to reduce the commodity prices, in turn the oil prices, which is going to be a positive for the Indian market, and therefore I'm not overtly worried about the way the rupee is depreciated now. Temporarily there is a possibility of rupee touching 70. But overall, I mean, barring the global crisis, domestically, I'm not looking at any worry. And RBI has enough ammunition to take care if there is going to be too much pressure on the rupee.
RBI still has plenty of reserves. Twice before they have defended 69 quite emphatically. Chances are at some stage they will use their $406 billion of reserves and quell the panic in the markets, if any. The problem is our current account deficit is grown. It's going to be large this year, maybe $70 billion. FDI will not cover even half of that, or maybe at best half of that. So we have a deficit which has to be made up by...
Okay, so that's Lok Sabha proceedings. I think there is a walkout being staged by the BJD. So that's happening right now. Let's just quickly listen and let's just put the audio up, listen to what's happening.
And then you must allocate more opposition time to that's why opposition.
ओके बाबा बैठिए ना समझ गई बात इतना नहीं बोलते यस
अध्यक्ष जी खड़गे जी बहुत अनुभवी एक सांसद है लेकिन कई ऐसे उदाहरण हैं एक दिन में हमने संपन्न किया है मैं सभी आंकड़ा नहीं पेश करना चाहता हूं
उनको तो समय चाहिए
लेकिन वनडे क्रिकेट के जमाने में 5 दिन का टेस्ट खेलने के ये ठीक नहीं है
प्लीज 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 बैठिए बैठिए अब इसी पे समय बर्बाद मत करो बैठिए नहीं क्रिकेट की कोई बात नहीं है बैठिए बैठिए सुनिए मैं आप सबको एक बात बताना चाहती हूँ बैठिए प्लीज नो नथिंग विल गो ऑन रिकॉर्ड नाउ नथिंग विल गो ऑन रिकॉर्ड मैं जो बोलूंगी वही जाएगा केवल आई एम सॉरी बैठिए चंदू बाजरा जी बैठिए बैठिए कोई नहीं बोले खड़गे जी नहीं मैं आपकी बात रिकॉर्ड में जा ही नहीं रही है खड़गे जी मैंने खड़गे जी को भी सुना मैंने आपको भी सुना है सभी पार्टी को मैंने सुना है मेरा इतना ही कहना है खड़गे जी आपने जो कहा समय सीमा नहीं बांधने वो तो केवल भगवान कह सकता है अनादिमी अनंतमी हम अनंत तक नहीं जा सकते कहीं ना कहीं समय सीमा होना चाहिए आपकी बात ध्यान में रखी है कैसा ज़्यादा समय वैसे भी आप चुरा लेते हो हम देख लेंगे ये कोई चर्चा का विषय नहीं आई एम सॉरी नो नो चर्चा सो ऑनरेबल मेंबर श्री श्रीनिवास केसिनानी हाँ बात आपकी
Okay, we will keep dipping back as and when there are more developments. Remember, the BJD was expected to decide on which way they wanted to weigh in on this no confidence vote this morning, and what they've done is they've essentially taken themselves out of the equation here. So I think BJD has got about 19 odd members in the Lok Sabha, and they're now not going to be part of the no confidence motion. There were also reports that in terms of what the Shiv Sena may do, may not support or they're not going to vote in line with the NDA. Shiv Sena is an important NDA ally. So I think I think that's Mr. Gala of the TDP moving the motion. Listen in.
For giving me this opportunity to move this motion and to initiate the debate. I would also like to thank the Aam Aadmi Party, AIMIM, the CPI, the CPM, Congress, Kerala Congress, the NCP, the RJD, RSP, SP, and the Trinamool Congress, and the other parties which have extended their support to us in this motion. I was told that a first-time MP has never been given the opportunity to initiate a debate on no confidence motion. So I feel it's a privilege, an honor for the first-time member like me to initiate one of the most important debates in the history of this Parliament, 16th Parliament, sir, Madam. With these initial words, Madam, I move the House expresses its want of confidence in the Council of Ministers. Madam, the latest Telugu blockbuster, Bharat Tane Nenu, which means I Bharat, is a story about a young NRI who returns to India after his father, who was a CM, dies suddenly. Bharat enters politics reluctantly and becomes a young, dynamic, and beloved CM. The recurring theme...
Okay, so that is the TDP's Mr. Gala essentially initiating the no-confidence motion, moving that motion in the Lok Sabha, and now, of course, the proceedings will flow. Earlier, the BJD MPs staged a walkout, taking themselves out of the equation, not voting against the government or voting with the opposition, but in a way expressing unhappiness by not being part of these proceedings. We'll slip back and cut back in as this sort of goes on. There's going to be a long drawn-out affair. Although, I mean, opposition parties have been complaining of lesser time, which has been allotted to them to speak on the floor of the House. We will take a very quick break here, the first of the show. We come back, we discuss what's buzzing in the commodity space. Manisha Gupta is going to be here. David Lennox will also join in. There's a fair bit happening. Commodities have been dropping. Oil is also in focus. David will tell us what he makes of those two things. Manisha, on the commodities segment in just a bit. All right, 40 points on the Nifty, 10,995 is where we're at. Flashes at the bottom of the screen. Promises made to the Andhra Pradesh government, the state of Andhra Pradesh, not promised by the not fulfilled by the Modi government, and more such sort of statements, of course, will keep coming through as members stand up and speak according to the time which has been allocated to them. Well, we're going to focus on commodities. Let's just quickly look at what the metal index is doing before I toss it over to Manisha. See if there is any big change. Actually, the metal index is the biggest loser. It's down about 1.3%, and it's a top sectoral loser across the board. Manisha is here, ready with us. Manisha, morning. What's happening?
Thank you so much for that, Prashant. Well, yes, the metals have continued to decline, and this perhaps is the 5th straight week that we have seen most of these metals actually close in the negative. It really is about the global cues. We have seen the US dollar strengthen. We did see a knee-jerk reaction post the US president's statements about the Fed stance, but since then there is strength back in the dollar. You have seen the Chinese yuan continue to decline. The trade war concerns are quite high into the market, and all of that has pushed the prices down. It really has been a very choppy nickel, zinc, lead, all of those metals are trading in the negative. We also are looking at copper prices. Even with that bit of a green, it still is at those 12-month lows that we have seen. Much of the Indian metal prices clearly are reacting to the calculations of the Indian rupee, which also has depreciated quite strongly. We've seen all new time lows coming in for the rupee at around 69.13. So that is what is working onto that calculations. But the international markets clearly slightly under pressure even as we speak at this point in time. David Lennox at Fat Profits now joins us to talk more about all of that. David, hi. First of all, your sense on the US dollar index itself, because that one is trading at around one-year highs, and that's pretty much the reason that we have seen many other asset classes actually being under pressure.
Oh, good morning, Manisha. Yes, certainly if you have a look at the US dollar, it has been on an upward trajectory, primarily since probably about March, April of this year, when the real concrete part of the tariff war started to hit onto the market. And what we're seeing now is that as the market starts to realise that these tariffs are going to perhaps repair the US balance of trade to some extent, then what that has done is caused the US dollar to rise as the markets believe that's what the tariffs are going to be put into place for. So going forward, we may perhaps have seen the worst of the rise in the US dollar, because you've got to remember these particular tariffs and the repair of the US balance of trade is going to take a very long period of time to play out. So the markets are assuming the worst case scenario, that it will happen very quickly, and have factored that into the US dollar already. We believe, however, that there will be somewhat of a settling of the dollar as reality starts to bite, and it does take some time for those numbers to actually play into the real life arena.
David, also, you know, even as we have seen concerns and a complete metal sell-off as a situation in last couple of months, but with China now looking to loosen monetary conditions, China also is pumping liquidity into the market. Do you see all of these factors support the base metal prices?
Look, we'd have to say if we were in normal US dollar currency terms, that we would probably see the commodity prices rising on the back of China pumping liquidity into its economy. So what we would expect to see, that will perhaps take some of the pain out of what we're seeing in terms of the effect of the rising US dollar. How much of that? Well, that will really depend continually on just how much further that US dollar's got to go in the near term. We do think that it is going to continue to rise, because markets are still coming to the view that US trade balances will repair. We don't know how long it will take, but it's just that thought. And given that we've had negative US trade balances for a long period of time, just the thought of the correction is enough to drive that dollar higher.
So what's your sense? Yeah, David, so what is your sense? Are you saying that from here on as well, there is some downside risk to the metals?
Yeah, we certainly continue to believe that there will be downside risk because of the very factor that the US dollar will likely continue to rise. As I said, it will take some time for these corrections to play out. But once the markets do start to see that, yes, the trade balance isn't going to correct overnight, we will perhaps see some softening in the US dollar, but that may take another few months to play through. So we're looking to China, yes, to pump liquidity into its economy so that the demand for commodities that we've seen coming out of that particular sector of the world will not change significantly so. So it's very much a matter of watch this space.
Any one particular metal that you're looking at that can see some more strength going forward, because we have seen the zinc prices gain up quite strongly in this week?
Yeah, look, that's been the one metal that we've been quite comfortable with even throughout this tariff war business, and that is the zinc price. And that's primarily because at the moment zinc is already in supply deficit, and it hasn't been mentioned in terms of commodities, etc., that we have seen now coming under perhaps a tariff gaze. So with that, with zinc already being in supply deficit, with demand at this stage remaining quite robust and inventories of zinc falling, we've seen that price being able to somewhat withstand the rise of the US dollar. How much further that occurs, really, it's going to depend just on how much higher that US dollar does go. But zinc's about the only metal that we're comfortable with at the moment.
Okay. All right, David, as well as Manisha, thanks very much for joining in and taking us through all your views on the metal space and the commodity and currency space. Just want to point out that Infosys is now up around 3%, so close to the high point of the day for Infosys. It is currently at around 1358 rupees, so it's bounced back in the past couple of sessions. Watch out for that one. Need to take a break now, but up next we'll be discussing market technicals. Ashwini Gujral will be with us as he always is at 11:30 a.m.